Okay, folks, welcome to Market Wrap. And the good news is that I have the microphone back up and running. We have a new power cord, so check that box. Website back up and running, check that box. And I'm going to be working on a new project this week. I've kind of been working on it, but it's going to start coming to fruition in the next couple of weeks. So more to come on some changes that we're going to be doing. It's going to be a bit of an expansion, trying to broaden out the community beyond what we currently have, and it's going to be on a different platform. We had a meeting with the folks over at a place called Mighty Networks today. Very strong platform, and as we grow, it's going to be a lot more cost effective. Same functionality or similar functionality to Slack, and it should be a better platform than Slack because Slack is extremely expensive to use. So it will allow us to grow. More to come. Okay, let's talk about the 10-year yield. A down day. It's clear that we are headed into recession. I mean, the Atlantic Federal Reserve now projecting a negative GDP for Q2. That makes two sequential back-to-back quarters of negative growth. I don't know how much more we need to say that we are in recession, except for the evidence after the fact, and I prefer not to wait until after the fact to make any moves. And I think those moves are going to be that you're going to see a pivot to the talk of a pause in rate hikes. Commodities are already coming in. We've talked about this for a few weeks now, that we're seeing signs of demand destruction. It began in the food space, in the materials space. Lumber prices have cratered, and now you're seeing it in energy prices. So the 10-year yield is reflecting an economy that is slowing and slowing dramatically. The TLT, 20-year bond ETF, another move up high here. This reminds me of a short covering rally. This type of price action. Volume dropped off today. So I would suspect that we're going to get a pullback here on the TLT. That means a hike or pop higher on yields. Tips pulled back today. Volume light. Indicators still strong. The dollar. You take a look at the monthly chart of the dollar, and I think we're entering a blow-off top period here. Clearly a new monthly higher high. Do we close there? Not sure. But we have all-time highs. Excuse me, not all-time highs. 52-week highs immediately above. So the test is always the top. Do we break out or do we break down? It's going to be all about the euro. We'll check in with the euro in a moment. Let's drill down to a daily chart. Daily chart, a gap up higher, potential evening star formation or a blow off top. How did the FXE perform? Probably the inverse. Yes. A gap down, potential morning star formation. Massive capitulation volume. The VIX, this is the weekly chart. Now, we're up on the week, but obviously a topping tail above. And I mentioned this morning when we're going over the futures action, said despite the fact that we were weaker on equities and stronger on the VIX, we may just see a turnaround. And we got it. Daily chart. Big reversal day. We closed positive, but all up days are not made equal. Stokes are very, very weak. The Dow transports. Daily chart closed out today lower, but still holding support. Volume rose. Jury's out here. Watch for potential breakout on RSI. The Dow Jones Industrials held support. Possible higher low. Now we need a higher high. The S&P 500 daily chart, it ultimately did rally to close positive. So a bullish key reversal bar, back-to-back bullish key reversal bars. Now we need a breakout. And the indicators are implying that we may just get one. Higher lows on Stokes and RSI. Same deal, ultimate oscillator. How's volume? Volume light, but it rose versus Friday. Qs, really strong day. Higher low, 296.58 would make it a higher high should we close above it. Volume rose, but still well below average. Indicators are looking strong. I think the path of least resistance right now is changing to the upside. The Russell 2000 small caps, outside reversal bar, very strong chart here. Let's take a quick peek at a weekly chart. We're at resistance at the 200 period moving average, so we can't ignore that. We're just below it. I'd really like to see a close above that mark. This is looking good here. MACD's so mature. I think we're going to rally. The banks, they closed down today, but they did close well off the lows. I think we're setting up for a rally here, folks. These charts are looking strong. The indicators anyway, higher lows. Stokes, RSI, volume to the downside was light on the banks. Remember, next week, big bank week. Sorry about that. Big bank week next week. Here's a weekly chart of the banks. We gave up support this week, so this can't be ignored. So I would still avoid them until we see more strength. Technology, daily chart. Outside reversal bar, very strong day. Volume, though, very light. It did rise versus Friday. Indicators, higher lows. We're seeing that all across the board tonight. Energy, rock today, down nearly 4%. As the narrative begins to take shape that we're heading into recession, I can only see this chart getting worse. Staples, I would avoid this right now. 50 days is going to cross down below the 200-day moving average. Avoid. Discretionary names, nice day. It looks like they're going to rally. Higher lows on the forward-looking indicators. Volume light. Bitcoin. Let's give it a little bit of update. Pop. And Bitcoin up. Looking good. Emerging markets. Strong US dollar. Weak emerging markets. Avoid until the dollar breaks. Let's take a look at food prices. Hit today. Wow. Big bloodbath. Gold. Speaking of bloodbaths, I think we're going to 1750, folks. That's where we're going. I would avoid it. NUGT, weekly chart. We closed today at around where we found a low back during the week of March the 30th of 2020. Now, are we done going down here? I mean, this is horrible support levels to be using. I don't know. And that's why we had to take the long call trade off the table, because we have zero edge here. I mean, even when you take a look at the Stokes, historically, we've been lower on a weekly chart. So, might we bounce? Sure, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised, but there's certainly more room to the downside. Daily chart. Now, on a daily chart, sure, we close off the lows of the session. We close within the body of Friday's trading range, but volume picked up. Big volume. I mean, to negate this type of a candlestick on Friday, that's pretty scary stuff. And when I say by negate, I means that, we should have, pulled back today. We should have put in a higher low, consolidated, then pressed higher. When you take out the lows of a reversal day like this, the following day, that's pretty bearish stuff. So I couldn't support carrying those long calls. Now, that being said, once they beat this thing up to a pulp, well then, once the dollar begins to break, we're going to step in here and be aggressive buyers. But for now, we'll sell some calls, covered calls, and that'll be that, because I'm confident that the Federal Reserve is going to have to switch gears fairly soon. And once they do that, and God forbid the ECB raises rates, you're going to see the dollar take a nosedive. GDXJ, same deal here. I mean, not much to talk about. Bloodbath. Silver miners, daily chart. A lot of technical damage done here. So until the dollar corrects, we want to avoid. Silver, same deal here. This was up last night. It was up in the pre-market, and they just hammered it with the dollar spiking up higher. All eyes are on the euro, and let's check out the euro. In fact, I meant to go to that earlier. I did go to this earlier. Yeah, so we gapped down today. Massive volume. Do we have historical support below? We do not. Not on a monthly chart, though. Let's go to a quarterly chart. Nope. Looks like we're heading to parity with the US dollar. LABU, strong day. We're going up higher, probably heading up to $10 per share. Volume, awesome. Tesla, we now have a strangle at the 710 strike. I think the Tesla's moving up higher. I doubt we're going to carry this position to Friday. We may. depending upon, really it depends upon if we have a strong close tomorrow and we close above our strike. Volume a bit light, but it rose versus Friday. Netflix, I'm really not liking Netflix. I mean, when you take a look at the weekly chart of Netflix, look at the higher low on Stokes, nice bullish reversal bar. Before we go adding more here, I'd really like to wait until as close to Friday as possible to get a really good visual on how we are poised to close out the week. They do have earnings coming up, but I think we may get a rally before that. Other charts shaping up nice. Amazon looking really, really strong here. Ready for a breakout. Salesforce.com, very similar. Great price action. So these names, NVIDIA, Qualcomm, we'll be looking at them, possibly putting on a trade just purely on the semiconductor sector so that we don't have to worry about earnings as much. So more tomorrow. Everybody have a great night, and I'll talk to you then. Be well.